I, 40F, and my ex, we'll call him Joe, 41M, were high school sweethearts, started dating when we were 17, married at 19, and divorced 20 years later, so going on 2 years now. We have an amazing daughter, Sarah, who is 8, and has adjusted really well to the separation. Joe and I get along great, the divorce was amicable and we're still good friends. Not like we hang out alone or anything, but we don't argue or fuss at each other, help each other out, and just overall have each other's backs because at the end of the day, our number one priority will always be Sarah and doing what is best for her. We've both moved on and are in serious long-term relationships with other people. His girlfriend, Lily, 46F, is great and really good for him. I have never had any conflict with her and enjoy spending time with her when we all get together for holidays and other important events or celebrations. Until last week. Joe's parents passed away within a month of each other last summer and it was devastating for all of us. Even though Joe and I had already been divorced for about a year, they still treated me like family and I loved them dearly. Joe and Lily hadn't started dating yet, so she never met them, which is a shame. They were incredible people. Long story to get to the point, but I feel like the background is important. Last week Sarah got a box in the mail from her aunt, who was responsible for dividing up my late mother-in-law's jewelry amongst the kids and grandkids. She had a huge collection of both costume and more expensive fine jewelry. I let Joe know about it and he explained that some of it was left to me, so when he would come over and we sort through it together. Lily came with him, which was fine. It was extremely difficult and we were both very emotional, so I'm glad she was there to support him. Here's where I think I may be the asshole. As we were going through the jewelry, we had pulled out a couple of cheaper pieces of costume jewelry for Sarah to have now, and I had picked out a couple of rings, a necklace, and 3 pairs of earrings to keep, knowing that they will eventually go to Sarah as well. Joe and I agreed that the rest of it would be put away in the lockbox that we each have a key to at my house and would stay there until Sarah is older and it goes to her. One of the pieces being put away is a beautiful set of ruby and diamond earrings and necklace that are obviously very real and we believe were passed down from Joe's grandmother. Lily had been admiring the set and making comments about how well it would go with the wedding dress she had been looking at. They aren't engaged, or even with some of her date night outfits. Joe didn't say anything to her in response, and when she put them down I wrapped them back up and put them along with the rest of the jewelry in the lockbox. Since then, Lily has texted me multiple times asking about them and if she can just borrow them. At one point she accused me of just wanting them for myself and pointed out that Joe and I were divorced and I didn't have any right to keep them. She has also said that when they get married, the jewelry will legally be part of their marital assets anyway, so I'm just putting off the inevitable. I'm not planning on wearing them. Per my agreement with Joe, I'll wear the pieces I picked out and the rest will stay put away for Sarah. I have zero intention of taking any of it out unless it's necessary, and even then, I'll let Joe know what's going on with it. Joe's has been radio silent and I haven't said anything because I don't want to cause any conflict that could have an impact on Sarah. So am I the asshole for not giving in and letting Lily have some of the jewelry meant for my daughter? Relevant comments that Op answered. Novel Sprinkles 3333. She is a pushy thing, isn't she? It is a big red flag, and I hope your ex sees it as such. The greed is really disgusting. Oop, it's just so bizarre that this is happening now. She's been amazing since they started dating and has been great at taking things slowly with Sarah and building a relationship with both her and I. It's been nothing but green flags up to now, and I was so happy that he found someone that seems so good for him and that makes him so happy. I don't want to cause issues between them, but this is definitely concerning, and if it's her true colors showing, she isn't someone I want around my daughter. Big Stash Dad, it might be telling that Joe has been radio silent during this back and forth with Lily. He may just not want to get involved in it or knows that the jewelry was willed to Sarah. The fact that Lily said it would be great to wear at her wedding and will be marital assets when she and Joe get married is delusional. She and Joe aren't even engaged. Unless I missed something in the story, doesn't all the jewelry legally belong to Sarah? Oop, I know they've talked about marriage, but there hasn't been any kind of proposal or anything beyond that. Prior to this happening, I was thrilled over the idea of them getting married. Lily has been great for my ex and for Sarah up until now. I'm pretty upset that she may be showing her true colors now, and I hope that's not the case. The jewelry was left to Sarah with a notation that I could choose what I wanted from it because Mill had specified that I could choose anything I wanted as long as they will eventually end up with Sarah. There's zero possibility of it not going to her either when I pass or before if she wants it when she's older. She's my only child and will eventually inherit all of my assets. Oop on if Joe and Lily are engaged, married, or neither. Oop, no, not engaged. Marriage has been discussed between them, but that's as far as it's gone. I was excited about the prospect until all of this. I'm glad it's not just me being weird about this. It's not like she was asking about a piece of costume jewelry that doesn't have quite as much sentimental value, but about family heirloom pieces that have been passed down. Sarah is too young right now to really appreciate all of that, but she had a very good relationship with her grandmother. Even after the divorce we FaceTimed weekly, and I know how much it will mean to her to have when she's older. Oop on who has legal rights to the jewelry, and how does Oop and Joe's roles play in this when the jewelry is placed in the safe? Oop, the jewelry was left to Sarah and I. I was allowed to pick what I wanted from what was sent because there's no question that it will be left to Sarah when I pass, or given to her before then once she's older. I don't have any other kids or step-kids, so Sarah will inherit all of my assets in the future, including the pieces that Mill left to me. Since it was his mom's, I felt like it was right for him to be there when I sorted through it. If there had been anything that he wanted to keep with him, I wouldn't have objected at all, because while my Mill and I were close and it does belong to Sarah now, that was his mom. He and his parents had an amazing relationship, and I would never have said he couldn't have something of hers as long as we stuck to the agreement that everything eventually goes to Sarah, since that's who it's all intended to go to. I was trying to do the right thing since we are still friends, and I know how hard it was for him to lose his parents. At the time, I was genuinely thankful that Lily was there for emotional support, because it was so hard to see pieces that my Mill wore frequently and treasured. It was just that punch in the gut reminder that she's gone and how much she's missed. When his dad passed, Joe and his brother inherited a very large collection of firearms with instructions to divide it up amongst their other siblings and the grandchildren as they saw fit. Phil and I were close, although not as close as Mill and I were, so when the time came, Joe asked me to pick out something from his share of the collection to keep as a reminder of his dad, and with the understanding that it will eventually be given to Sarah. I need to call Aunt that sent the jewelry and confirm, but I suspect it was a similar setup. The jewelry was left to the girls to be divided up and distributed as they saw fit. Joe was told that it was being sent to Sarah and I, but there was no mention of any of the jewelry being set aside for him or his brother specifically. Update, August 21st, 2024. So many of you asked for an update, so here it is really quick. I wrote this out yesterday and figured out that it was probably better to make a new post than edit the other one with it. So yeah, here's what's going on. Joe took an extended lunch yesterday and came by the house without Lily. I explained to him why I was reluctant to bring everything up, but I was tired of being harassed about the jewelry and that I feel strongly about it belonging to Sarah, not to either of us, and certainly not to Lily. He agreed immediately and was shocked to find out that she had been asking about it, and then angry when I showed him the messages. I figured the best course of action was a face-to-face conversation with him and being able to hand him my phone so he could see the conversation for himself, and there would be no way for her to accuse me of making it up or photoshopping anything. It sucked to see him so upset over it, and I have a feeling that it's going to get worse, because from what he was saying, it sounds like Lily won't be around much longer, and regardless, she won't be allowed back in my home and won't be spending any time with Sarah alone if he doesn't break up with her. I did also go first thing yesterday morning and open a safe deposit box at one of the local banks. It's not the one I normally do business with, and as of right now, my name is the only one on it and I have the only key. I was worried about the possibility of Lily having any kind of access to the jewelry with it being in the house, and until all of that is resolved, I feel better knowing that there's no way for her to get to it. Joe and I also discussed this when he came over, and he said that he agrees completely that it's the best course of action to safeguard Sarah's inheritance. All but one of the pieces I picked out also went in, and as much as I would love to have a couple of the other pieces to wear in remembrance of her on the really hard days, I would rather know it's safe and I still have the one piece that brings me so much comfort. All kinds of notarized documents will be on their way to me and should be here by the end of the week, when I have a meeting set up with a lawyer to determine what else needs to be done to ensure that the jewelry will go to Sarah without any issues or challenges. I spoke to the aunt that sent everything over the weekend after I posted this, and got so much good advice, thank you all, and requested she send copies of everything pertaining to it along with documentation from her as the executor of what was sent to who, etc. I didn't tell her about the issues with Lily. I don't think that's my place, and I'll let Joe deal with telling his family or not as he sees fit. I have an appointment later today with a GIA certified appraiser, so I should be able to take all of that with me to the lawyer, as well as the pictures and video that I took of each piece last night. I'm still leaning towards a trust as the best way to make sure Sarah's interests and assets are protected, but we'll see what the lawyer says and go from there. I feel terrible for Joe. He's a great guy, and even though our marriage didn't work out, I still care about him and always will. He's not just my child's father but also one of my best friends, and I want him to find someone to be with that loves him the way he deserves to be loved. It's just that whoever that is needs to understand that Sarah is always going to come first, and he and I will always work as a team to make sure that she's happy, healthy, and successful in life. Our relationships with each other and other people aren't going to hinder her in any way. Thank you to everyone that commented and offered so much good advice and support. I really do appreciate all of it more than I can tell you. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did, and it's really overwhelming, to be honest. I probably won't update any more or add anything else to this, so thank you again. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Wife's real estate job led to wild parties and late nights. I later found out flirty texts with other men on her phone. My wife, F35, and I, M40, have been married for 10 years, and we really do have an amazing relationship. We have 2 beautiful kids, a nice home, I own my own business, and things are great. We have a great sex life and social life outside of our family life with kids. My wife, after years in various parts of the industry, got her real estate license about 4 years ago. It was something to fill time, keep busy, and make a little extra income. The company that she's been with for the last 2 or 3 years has a real emphasis on social networking events, and it has caused a rift between us. I have attended 1 or 2 of these events, and I've left them all with a troubling feeling. I would say 9 out of the 10 people I met rubbed me the wrong way. Many of them are very self-absorbed, could only talk about themselves and their success, and are very flirtatious with my wife. To be fair, she is incredibly attractive but approachable and friendly. The last few events that my wife has attended resulted in her coming home late and involved excessive drinking. There are two things that really bother me about it. I feel that her professional relationships with men at her company have become more social than professional, and these networking events seem more like an excuse to go and hang out with other guys and drink. While many of them are married, I don't trust their intentions. Last week, my wife attended an event and we agreed she would be back by 12. I even went out of my way to make a point of asking her to be responsible and to limit the amount that she drinks. Well, 2 a.m. rolled around and there was no sign of her. She wouldn't respond to text messages. I could see she was still in the general area of the event, which was over an hour from our house. Finally, after calling a few times, she answered. I could tell she was extremely drunk. She told me she was staying at a hotel with one of her girlfriends, and I had to quickly remind her that I had to be up at 4:30 a.m. to get ready for work. Long story short, she took an Uber to the train and ended up driving her car home drunk. As if this wasn't bad enough, I noticed on her phone, she had very flirtatious text messages with multiple married and single men. I've really had enough of this career choice. She doesn't seem responsible enough to attend these events, and it is causing a big divide between the two of us. I'm really at a loss for what my next step should be. There was a similar situation to this a few months ago, and at that point, she had promised me she was going to control herself and be more responsible, but it's pretty obvious she is not able to do that. Update, August 15, 2024. Hi everyone, I received many requests for an update on our situation. I also want to thank all of the people that had positive and empathetic responses to my initial story. A lot has unfolded in the time since my wife's night out. After noticing the flirtatious text messages, I asked my wife to see her phone. I told her I wanted to see what else she had written. She gave me access to her phone, and upon doing a deeper dive, I saw that the flirtatious messages went far beyond anything I would have expected. The man she was messaging had recently broken up with his girlfriend, and my wife's response to him was that things aren't going well in our marriage. I also found out that while we were on vacation in the area he lives, she went to the gym and met this man there to work out. This news was devastating to me. Not only was I disgusted to find out that she met with him behind my back, but I was blindsided to see she mentioned to him we were probably heading towards divorce. We had a difficult week after that. She was ashamed of her actions. The drinking, the messages to this man, and the meetup. She described that she feels like I hate her, which really hurt because I feel like I do everything I can to make her happy. She swore to me that nothing physical had happened. After looking through the messages, I do believe her. It seems that she didn't find out that he and his girlfriend broke up until he texted her after the gym. He actually stated in the messages that while he is attracted to her, he didn't want to get in the way of our marriage and that he didn't want to be a distraction while she and I tried to work things out. I have to commend him for that. I told her that it was imperative that she confesses if anything physical had happened. I was willing to work through anything, but if I find out later down the road that she lied, then she would not get another chance. I also discussed the importance, if anything happened for the sake of our health and our children's health, that she would need to go get tested. She was also on her period while we were away, so I'm confident there was no physical interaction. She has been adamant that nothing happened, but she knows what she did was wrong. She did agree to get tested to give me peace of mind, and everything was negative. I had a few sessions with my therapist and she recommended a couples therapist for us. She also mentioned that she believes my wife has some deeper trauma that she needs to work through. It's obvious that her judgment is off and that there may be some reason as to why she is acting out. Our first session with the couples therapist was very educational. She did a dive into our relationship from the beginning, the main reason that we sought out her help, and laid out a treatment plan. Next week we will be starting individual sessions with her and then couples sessions following that. We both know that there is a lot of work to do, but we are dedicated to making this work. I myself had a very unstable childhood due to my parents' divorce. When I made those vows to my wife, I fully intended to see them through, and I believe she did as well. I feel very confident after speaking to both therapists that couples can heal, move beyond an act of infidelity, and can come out even stronger than before. I owe it to myself, my wife, and my children to do everything I can to commit to having a happy and healthy relationship. My wife is showing great remorse. She said she doesn't know why she does these things, but she knows it's wrong and she wants to stop. She is seeking the necessary help and knows she has a lot of work to do. She's fully aware of the damage she has caused. She knows I've lost the ability to trust her in social settings, and it's going to take a long time to earn that back. She has since ended any and all conversations with this guy. She has offered to quit her job. I'm not sure if that's going to help. I believe she does get a sense of purpose from it that she doesn't get at home. If she can't control herself at these work events, then I can't trust her to control herself anywhere. She had plans to go away for the yearly work retreat national meeting later in the year. She has made the decision to cancel those plans. Relevant comments that op answered. Throw_RA099. She's doing the right things on paper, but man, she met with another man with the intent to cheat, but it seems like it didn't happen only because the other guy has a conscience. She fed him the "I'm getting divorced" lies so he would sleep with her. Yikes. I would find this hard to overcome. Find this guy and buy him a beer. She shouldn't stop working, But maybe she finds a job at another office to get away from the party culture of her current job? The outings after work and work trips should stop until further notice. She broke the trust and it's going to take years to fix. Any mention of her going to AA meetings? She shouldn't have a drop of alcohol either. Oop, thank you. We are going to dive into the alcohol issue with the therapist. It's something my therapist recommended, but when I brought it up to my wife, she was insulted that I said she has a drinking problem. My therapist said she's not ready to hear that from me and needs to deal with that professionally. As I mentioned in the first post, she doesn't drink very often, and more often than not she can have 1 or 2 drinks and call it quits. There is no excuse for the binge drinking, and I do believe she has a problem, so I'm taking it very seriously. Tilda Jinx the chicken, I'm glad you are trying to work it out. The only thing I find long-term concerning in all this is that she said during an emotional affair that you two were heading towards divorce. That means she was planning for it until she got caught. I hope you all are able to make it through all this for the sake of you both and your kids. Oop, thank you. That was without question the most devastating part of the whole situation for me. Not that the other things weren't bad, but to hear she felt so differently about our marriage than I did really hurt. She has told me that she doesn't want a divorce. She doesn't know why she said that. She reached out to this other guy the next day over the phone to tell him that it was wrong of her to say that, and it wasn't true. But we are working towards making sure we are not heading in that direction. Malevolent_mangoes. So many marriages end up in shambles because the couple tried to stay together for the sake of the children. It just doesn't work, dude. There are countless examples of this. Oop, and there are people who make an effort to correct course and have a successful and healthy marriage. What we have is worth fighting for, and if it doesn't work and if there are other events that impact our marriage, then I can at least say I tried and I can move on. Even if we called it quits right after something like this, how could we possibly have an amicable divorce and healthy co-parenting situation for our kids? Malevolent_mangoes. Plenty of parents do. Oop, I think it's more important to try to fix it. Do you want to be the person that had a successful divorce, successful marriage? If something else happens, then there is nothing more lost than if I walk away now. My mom suffered from a drinking problem after a failed marriage and vicious divorce. Her fiancé walked out on her because he didn't want to deal with it, so it was up to me to take on that responsibility. In my early 20s, she's since been sober and healthy. It troubles me to think what would have come if he took steps to stand by her and get her the help she needed. I could have walked away from her and said good luck.